Welcome back to the Azura Media Club, home of the Bad Girl Coven. I'm your Coven leader, Emily. Today we're talking The Abyss. And let's take a moment of silence. It's happened. It finally happened. There is a James Cameron movie. A fucking James Cameron movie. I didn't review Avatar 2. I don't think I was doing this at that point. I fucking hated Avatar 2. That's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. The first Avatar, also not great. One of my least favorite movies of all time. The man, I have been on record in the past saying the man only makes movies that are based on things. The Titanic was an incident. So he said, what if we put two lovers in a thing on the Titanic and we'll make it a whole spectacle movie about a fucking tragedy of human history. Then, he did Terminator, which was Harlan Ellison's idea. Harlan Ellison created this story, and then he ripped off that story and then had to credit him at the end of the movie in the credits, for this Terminator thing. Which, this guy only makes unoriginal stuff. The Avatar is like maybe an original thing, but like it's a lot like these other things. There's a lot of things that's like, I will give him 100% credit, or at least like 90% credit, something here. I will give him a lot of credit. This was the most original James Cameron film I've seen. And I was floored, in a sense. I mean, it still has some of the classic James Cameron, this movie is way too long, the trappings of this first half is really slow, and, we're not right into everything right away. But if the first half hadn't happened, I don't think I would have been as invested by the second half. It could have been trimmed down a bit. And, of course, we went to see it in theaters. We saw the special edition. We got this cool poster here. For free, which we almost didn't get because we left, when you would leave during the credits, and then, like, the guy wasn't there handing out the posters until, like, a couple minutes later. Luckily, my brother had to use the bathroom, and it's just sheer happenstance we even got to see this movie anyway. We wanted to go see a different movie, and we were looking on the app, and he's like, oh my god, it's The Abyss, and I'm like, alright, what's that? Oh, it's that James Cameron movie I don't want to see because it's James Cameron. And my friend Jameson always talked about this movie, and he's like, yeah, it's James Cameron's, like, most original movie and stuff. He was right. It's a good movie. I hate to say it. I mean, James Cameron used to make good movies, right? Like, I don't think he does it anymore, but he used to make good movies, even if they were rip-offs of ideas or not completely original. But there was one before all of those, kind of. I think he did the Terminator movies before these. Anyway, there was one somewhere in the middle of all of that actually was really original, and it was based on, I guess, his experience of when he first started being a diver. It's about the ocean, it's about the abyss. So I give him credit for this. It's still way too long. And a lot of that is to do with the special edition stuff. Like I said, I still think a lot of the stuff at the beginning could have been trimmed down a bit. There's a whole subplot where it's like they're trying to take out this guy that's like trying to... Spoilers for The Abyss, by the way. He's like trying to arm this nuke from this submarine that like crashed. Also, like, the first few scenes there definitely gave me vibes of the Metal Gear Solid opening. Where they're like doing the briefing with Snake. Not like the briefing scenes, but like the intro scene where they're naming off all the guys in Metal Gear Solid. Like, the shot is like almost the exact same, so I wonder if Kojima kind of took that from The Abyss, that shot. Anyway, the one on the submarine there. So a lot of that first stuff, it's very typical. It's very, realism. It's very, like, suspenseful, sure. I mean, they're underwater and lots of bad things are happening, but a lot of that is, like, not that special or interesting to me, and I think there's a solid 15 minutes to a half hour in there you could probably trim out, but would the story be as good? I don't know. Maybe not. the first half just feels like this bloated action movie, but by the time you get to the second half, there's a lot of really emotional and great scenes when he's there's this whole relationship with the main character, Bud, who's played by Ed Harris, and his wife there, or is divorced. They're getting divorced, but then they kind of learn to love each other by the end of the movie again. But like, there's a lot of great scenes later on, especially they're like trapped in this like other thing, far away from the like the main ship or whatever, and they've been like submerged. They're like down there. They're running out of air. Like every thing on this main ship is like getting destroyed, and then the other ship is like getting destroyed because they like were following after this other guy to like try and take him out because he's the one trying to arm the nuke and do all this stuff. Yeah, spoilers, by the way. I said that, right? Okay, so because I don't want to spoil it for somebody who hasn't seen the movie, but also I do want to talk about it. So, and this is a movie I kind of would want people to go. So if you want just a straight up review, like an easy, like, should I go see this? Like, go see the movie. You can't really see, I'm sure it's not going to be in theaters for much longer. It's December 6th. Like, I guess it's like 35th anniversary or something of this movie. Does that make sense? Like 80 something? Yeah. I guess that would make sense. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, go see the movie if you're curious about it or whatever, because I'm gonna kind of spoil a couple of things, and I want to talk about it because it's interesting, So there's these aliens. You get to see the little glimpses of them earlier on in the movie. That's the intriguing part of that, and the thing is, it doesn't really come up until later in the movie. They're there as a presence, and you figure when he has to go down to disarm this nuke, the aliens are probably going to be down there. Like, it's kind of predictable, but like, it's cool. And especially the ending, seeing them, there, and they have this conversation through like the TV there, like the stuff, and they show us that, we need to get better. We need to grow up. We need to stop fighting so much. And it's like, yeah, I get that. I like that. That's a great message. They even like threaten the world by pushing up this huge wave, and then it's like they retract the wave just to show if we get out of hand, they can do that. They can take us out if they wanted to, but they don't want to. They're peaceful beings, And like the fact of it is, they want us to get better, and they're monitoring us or something, they're always watching kind of thing. So that's cool, and especially by the end, and they like lift everything up, and then like, everything's fine, he gets back out, and it's great, and it's this emotional moment, because, he goes down, and when he's like going down into the depths there, because he needs to get to the nuke or whatever to disarm it, he keeps going farther and farther down. And what I wanted to mention was, before this, there's a great scene where they're both stuck there, and the wife is like, "Oh, you have to bring me back to the ship, and you can, maybe there's a chance to revive me or whatever." But they do this, like, it takes like, I swear it's like 15 to 20 minutes. It feels like, at least. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like 5 minutes or something, but it feels like 15 to 20 minutes of like trying to resuscitate her. And you're just watching this, and you're just like, you're just waiting the whole time. And I was probably supposed to be emotional at that moment, but I was just more on the edge of my seat, seeing if it was going to happen. Because there's like a moment in the middle there where they're like, give up, she's gone or whatever. And he keeps going, despite that, despite them not being able to bring her back. And then she comes back, and it's like this, oh my god, it's like this emotional moment. I didn't even care that much until that point, as much about her or any of the, like, it just, they all come together in that moment, and it really shows you why you need to, like, care, like, I guess. Definitely got me more invested in the emotionality of the scene. The scene is about emotionality, So anyway, then they have to send him down, Bud, to, like, go down to, like, the depths, like, farther than anybody's ever gone. Farther than anybody's ever gone is, like, 8,500 feet or whatever at this point in this movie. And then he goes down, like, I swear it must have been like 30,000, 40,000. Like, it's like miles down there. And then he has to go down. And I don't even know if, like, people can do this now. Is this, like, the realm of science fiction that this is happening? They, like, put, like, water in his breathing thing, so he has to, like, breathe in this, like, special water or something. Is this like an embryo thing? Like, you know how you, like, are entrapped in water? Because they said, like, oh, you've been in water before for 9 months and, like, breathing it, so, like, you'll get used, your body will adjust or something like that. So it's, like, this weird, like, sort of, I guess that's a thing, like, you know, they always use that, like, cartoons and, like, anime and stuff, like Mewtwo in the, like, pod or whatever, but, so they send him down, and you just keep hearing them, like, he has this little thing to, like, type out, because he can't talk to them, so you see all these little messages coming in on the thing, and, like, the messages start not making sense, and it's like, oh no, like, he's losing it, and then, by a certain point, when he actually gets down there, it's like this nice moment, of, like, and the wife has to keep talking to him and stuff. It's like, that whole scene is just so well done. When he gets down there, he's finally better, and he, like, types to them and stuff. And then they're like, do this to disarm the bomb, and he's like, cut the blue wire with the white one, and not the black wire with the white one, and it's like, they look the same. It's at the bottom of the ocean. How the fuck am I supposed to know? And he, like, hesitates. He's, like, ready to cut one, and he cuts the other one, and it's like, that's the one. So, like, what if he cut that first one? It would have blown up, and that would have been really bad. The aliens would have been pissed, because they were right down below there. And so, and then they're like, oh, well, how much air do you have left? Can you get back up? And he's like, I got, like, 5 minutes of air. And they're like, well, that could be wrong. You have to, like, reduce your weights and stuff. And he's like, I knew it was a one-way trip. And you were like, yeah, like, oh my god. Like, we all knew he was going down there to do this, and he wasn't coming back. Like, it took him so long to fucking fall down there. They're like, oh, you spent 30 minutes getting down there. I don't even know if, it probably wasn't that long, movie-wise. It was probably, like, 10 minutes or so, but it felt long, because every... You know, they really... He does a great job in this movie, James Cameron, directing how the suspense goes. You know, like, the suspense earlier is more like the action, like, horror sort of suspense on the ship and whatever. You know, it's more like Alien and Aliens and whatever. But the later suspense is actually, like, an emotional sort of suspense, and I think that's really powerful how he does that there. And then this whole thing with the aliens, you know, you get to see them there, and like that whole message that they are trying to send, and him, like, trying to talk to them and communicate and stuff. I think that's so interesting. It's just really well done. There's a very wonderment sentiment around this whole alien subplot of this movie, and I think that's really beautiful, and it ties back into a lot of our theories about the ocean and whatnot, you know, everything's a conspiracy, you know, or whatever, like the one guy says, about how we don't know that much about down there, and maybe some of that started from this movie or whatever, but, you know, it does kind of feel like, yeah, like, aliens could be down there, you know, and like, a lot of people have seen, like, alien stuff coming out of the ocean. And, you know, there's, like, fucking Carl Sagan who's like, oh, we haven't got any clear, definitive proof of aliens. No aliens. It's like, come on, dude. Dude, just because you don't have, like, a clear picture of these things, I mean, they have, like, protective camouflage and, like, you know, like, they're fast. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to get that on, like, modern cameras and shit? You know, like... And we've gotten different little things before, you know, like little pictures and whatnot, but anyway, point being, I like that, and I think that's an intriguing part of the subplot, and everyone's really wowed by the beauty of these aliens, you know, like they have this light about them, this aura, and, you know, that's definitely very, very symbolic of how they're a peaceful creature, and there's all this stuff about the dark, you know, it's like, oh, you know, the deeper you go down, the more you're entrenched in dark, but when you go the farthest down that you can go, there's light, you know, it's like, it's like you have to dig through all the darkness to get to the light. You know, there's a scene when he's falling and they're talking about like candles, like two candles next to each other, just be the candles next to each other. It's like that's what that is. It's the candle at the bottom, but it's instead of that, it's like when the power actually comes back on, and it's like, you know, it's there, you know. So yeah, I think that whole subplot is really great and beautiful. And you'll notice I'm talking about things from the second half of the movie. The first half is more about the ship and that breaking down, and it's a lot of scenes about that and flooding and us. We have to fix this thing, and these people are dying, and this and that. And, you know, it's like pretty standard fare stuff. But I mean, it works out to keep you like it explains the circumstances of where we're at here. I mean, this isn't something we can just jump out of. It explains that very clearly. I mean, they're pretty trapped down there, you know, and that's crazy. I mean, by the end they do get out thanks to the aliens, but you know, also it's a pretty desolate situation. So I think they really convey that well. You know, and like the pacing, like I said, in the second half is a lot better than the first, but the first half is important to set up the second half. We get that. I get that. It's a long movie. Is it too long? I made the point to my brother, like, Avatar and Avatar 2 way too long. It comes down to the fact that if I was gonna say any movie deserved the James Cameron 3 hours, nearly 3 hours length, it's this one. You know, I feel like he did do enough to justify that time. And like I said, there probably was some stuff that you can cut, but I still feel like at the same time, a lot of the stuff is necessary to build on the characters, to build on this plot line with the guy trying to arm the nuke and destroy the aliens and all of that. I mean, I think that's necessary to because that's the message of the movie and of the aliens are trying to send is like, hey, stop fighting, just like let's get along and let's have a better world and whatnot. You know, imagine what we could do with that. So, and I think that's a great message. So, it like visually the movie is like dark, but it's like it's not that kind of dark where you're like bored all the time. It has moments like that, but it lends to the atmosphere it's trying to sell. A lot of movies, dark is bad because you drain it of all the color and you drain it of all the light, but that's kind of the point here, is that it is very lifeless down there, and that's why the aliens are such a contrast to the darkness. You know, visually, even aesthetically, the movie understands its symbolism, you know? It's like, that's great, that's cool as shit. You know, the Avatar movies can prove that anything, you know, can be colorful as shit and not be interesting at all. So, I'm usually all for color, because I like color in my movies, but darkness also can work if you do it correctly, you know? So, and I think they did it correctly here. And let's give a shout out to Alan Silvestri here. The music, man, is just, it's tense, and then it's wonderful, and you know, like powerful when it needs to be. You know, like when the aliens come for the first time, you feel that sense of wonderment through the music, you know, and through the visuals and through everything. It all comes together as a good package, you know. So, I'll be honest though. I mean, I think the first half of the movie, I was a little bored, and I'm like, what's the point? You know, where are we going with this? Why does this matter? Is it just gonna be another one of these movies that doesn't really go anywhere interesting? And by the end, you get there, you know? And I think that's what's really cool about the movie, you know, is you get there by the end. Um, you know, and I could almost say this is something like James Cameron trying to make his 2001: A Space Odyssey or something, but I'd much rather watch this again versus 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I find also very dull because it just goes on and it's this like thing. It's just like it goes on way too long. I don't know how long that movie is, but it just feels like it goes on way too long. Visually, it's a very cool movie, especially for back in the day. But I mean, I don't know. I really enjoyed this movie from a perspective of that. I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth that like James Cameron made an original thing that I thought was pretty cool and actually really liked, you know? Um I think that first part, I just think it's probably too long. I honestly, some of it could have been cut down. I think this would have been a much tighter movie. I can say that about all James Cameron's movies, but this is the one time where I'm just like, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to that. Like, you know, not that I don't know what I'm talking about, just like maybe I'm not in the position to be making those calls on this one. You know, like I'm glad I gave him the time uh to wow me by the end. You know, so I don't know. I was really pleasantly surprised. I was kind of shocked by how good it actually was, you know, compared to my expectations, which I didn't have any. I expected a James Cameron movie, and I expected to be bored for most of it, and maybe to have like one or two good scenes, but half of the movie is like really, really good, and the other half is like pretty good, you know. The other half is like really good, and then this, you know, the first half is pretty good, you know. It's like there are moments where I'm just like I don't care, I don't want. What am I watching, you know? But like I think the complete package pulls it together by the end. Um, so if you get through the first half, you get to experience the second half, and you'll be emotionally invested and stuff. And I think that's just really special. I think he did it. You know, James Cameron made a movie, an original movie that wasn't based on something else, and I give him a little applause for that. You know, I'm happy for him. I just wish he would make more movies like that nowadays and stop focusing so much on his stupid visual effects and all this CG and stuff. Put more effort into your characters, man. You know, your characters in Avatar suck. You know, I'm sorry to say, but I'm not sorry to say. You have lined your pockets with billions of dollars that just unnecessary, man. You know, those movies shouldn't have done as well as they did, um, but this movie kind of deserves to have done well. I don't know how well it did, but I mean, if anything, it's underrated, I suppose. I doubt it is. I bet people know about it, but I mean, nobody's really talking about this one versus like Terminator or like Aliens or something, you know, like or like T2 or whatever it was. Um, you know, their Avatar. They're talking, you know, it it just, you know, I think this deserves to be seen as a because I think it's a little bit better than a lot of those movies, and you know, I really like the Terminator movies. I thought those were great. I think I prefer Terminator 1 to Terminator 2. So, but I know that's a big opinion. Maybe we'll get there. We'll definitely get there at one point. They're in my movie collection over there, so maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. But you know, like I just, you know, I'm still shocked that he did it. Like he made it. He made this happen. Like an original movie by James Cameron. You know, that impressed me. You know, that alone is like that's like a once in a lifetime experience, and I think it's gonna remain a once in a lifetime experience because I mean I don't think he's headed there ever again. So We'll see. It gives me a little more faith in the guy. Just a little bit. He still made Avatar and Avatar 2, which are god-awful movies. So bad. Yeah. That's about all I have to say about it. I mean, I really enjoyed half of the movie. Not to say the first half was bad. It was just less good than the second half. But I don't think it's enough of a problem for me to give it a bad rating or anything. I mean, I think everything about the movie, for the most part, really worked. It's just probably some of the stuff that they added for the special edition that didn't need to be added or something. You know, if this is like an extended edition or something. I don't know. There's a lean, solid movie in here somewhere. But James Cameron doesn't really make those. So, overall, though, everything's cool about it. I think the message is good. The visual's good. The idea is good. The colors and the contrast of that is good. And the darkness and the emotional vibes and the struggle is all really well done. And the characters, I think, at some level are pretty good. And definitely the music is really good. It really sets the atmosphere. So, yeah. So I had a good time, for the most part. And I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. So, until next time, subscribe, stick around to join the Bad Girl Coven, and never forget that magic comes from the heart. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Emily, out.